What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. If you haven't seen my last video, make sure you click it now and stop this video and go to that one. Why? Because in the last video, we removed the dry sump tank out of the C6 Z06 and we installed the AVA dry sump baffle. We reinstalled the dry sump tank, and guess what we're doing in this video? We're pulling the dry sump tank back out of the car. Now, it's not for any reason specific to the dry sump. We're actually going to be running a DSX tuning E85 flex fuel sensor and kit. What I didn't realize last week or the week before when I installed the dry sump baffle is I completely forgot that the ECU is in the same area of the dry sump tank. So if you have a C6 base model, you can kind of get away with just finagling the fender a bit. But when you got that big McNasty in there, you do have to, for ease of access, take the dry sump tank back out. That way you can comfortably pin the right plug on the ECU harness. So since you actually have to access the ECU back here where the dry sump tank lives, I'm thinking I'm actually going to unbolt my fender this time. I want to not spend too much time removing the dry sump tank, and I want enough space to route this very, very itty-bitty wire into the ECU. Now, this is considered a plug-and-play kit, guys. So the harness is already here. This plugs into your, I believe, your fuel rail harness. And then this one is a direct pin. But you do have to locate the right pin before you do so. You can't just plug it into any pin and hope for the best. This is a GM flex fuel sensor, and it is designed to determine what fuel you are running. So you do have to plug it into the right pin before you screw anything up. And having the fender off, having the dry sump tank out of my way allows me to properly see exactly where I'm doing it, properly route it with no engine right now, and get it nice and tucked in where I'm not going to have any future issues with this. Because if this wigs out and my car doesn't know what it's running, it is a recipe for disaster. So going to go through the process of removing this. We'll record some of that, and we're going to get this bad boy installed. So why run E85? Well, it's pretty simple. More power, baby. No, it does help generate a little bit more horsepower, but the honest truth is, since my motor's out and it's being rebuilt, we have decided to go with a more aggressive piston per se. We're going to go from out of the 11:1 factory compression ratio up to a 12:1 compression ratio, so about a point. Now, putting a little more compression is going to help make a little more power. We're going with a bit more of an aggressive cam. So the flex fuel, or the E85 per se, is technically a higher rated fuel. So the octane level is closer to, if you get good E85, closer to like a 105 rating. So naturally, that's going to reduce my chances of knock. And I don't want knock, I don't want detonations. So with the discussion to increase the compression ratio, we have decided for every cool power adder, we need to put something in there that's going to keep the Z06 healthy. So the flex fuel sensor is going to do that, because it's not that the car is going to run full 85 for the rest of its life. It's going to have the standard GM flex fuel sensor, so it's going to be able to determine the level of E you've got in the motor and basically adjust timing in or out based on that. So once the car gets put back together, we'll get it tuned. They'll adjust those tables so that when it regulates based on what fuel levels are in there, it can keep this car safe. And I can safely beat the living daylights out of this thing once it's running, have a little bit more power, pay a lot less for fuel, and keep the car cooler, happier, and safer. So that's why we're doing it. We are going to, I'm not too concerned about this. I will show you how to plug this part in here. It's pretty self-explanatory. I did have to buy a couple different extra parts because I am running the fast, I do have the fast 102 intake with the fast fuel rails, which run AN lines, and the stock is obviously got the quick disconnect fuel disconnects. So I did have to buy from Racetronics a coupler to connect the DSX kit. Let's show you that. We're going to plug it in, but again, I'm not leaving it in here. There's no motor, there's no harnesses here next to it to actually plug that part in. My main focus is running the wire right behind me through the cowl, down through where the dry sump tank is, and pinning the ECU to get this car one step closer to having the engine installed and ready to hit the racetrack. So let's see what this thing's all about. Factory line comes right out of right here, right? And typically it's going to have a quick disconnect setup. And actually the DSX kit, once you choose your setup, will come with that quick disconnect for the fuel line. But my car, since it's running the Fast 102 fuel rails, it's actually running AN. So it has an adapter that connects, I can't align here, that connects here and basically feeds to my standard GM quick disconnects. And then the DSX kit, which we have here, technically has that same nipple here. The problem is this is a male and so is right here. So I purchased this Racetronics quick disconnect coupler right here, which I'm just going to plug it in quickly for illustration purposes, and I'm not really concerned about it being on there. I just have to slide it in.
That's what she said.
Just have to slide it in this slot here and adapt this piece right here, and that'll be locked in place. It's all kind of said and done. You'll kind of have this layout. I just took it off the tab there, but you'll have that there. There's your flex fuel sensor. Here's your harness, right? I'm not going to be using any of that today. And then you have this hard line. Now, I may or may not remove this hard line because theoretically, I need to go back to AN, which that side has an adapter for that's not exactly AN. And I already have this hose that I can adapt right here and run back to my actual fuel rail. So that's more than likely the case of what we're going to do there. But again, the reason why I'm jumping ahead is because it's a lot easier to install this electrical wire when there's absolutely nothing in the way. So these are all little T10 Torx. Now, you could theoretically put a drill on it and get it done a lot faster, but I'm not looking to damage anything. I absolutely hate removing panels from cars because we all know the alignment is never perfect after that. But I really just want the ease of making sure I have full accessibility to the ECU so I don't screw anything up. There's only one thing I hate as much as removing panels, and that's messing with electrical, especially harnesses and stuff like that where we're pinning inside of an already configured harness. So the more space that I can sit and stare at it and properly identify which one is prong, I believe it's pin 40, the better I'm going to feel about my decision to wire this E85 myself. ECU's right here. I don't need to go all that crazy. So I don't think I'm going to remove the entire fender. One, there's a bolt that's a little bit trickier. Not impossible to get to, but it's definitely like right behind, I guess you can call them the shark gills, or just gills entirely. But now kind of looking for that screw, I realized that I can, it really depends on how much space the harness is going to give me, but I'm going to try to unplug the correct harness pin because there's two harnesses that go to the ECU. Make sure I disconnect the correct one, connector 1, don't know what that means, and see if I can work from it from inside that tab there because it's pretty accessible. It's really going to come down to how much extra wire it has. If not, I will get to that extra bolt and just kind of do it that way. So here's what I've done. I've basically loosened the ECU, and you know, that bolt is still hard to get to. I mean, I can probably get to it now and just take the freaking fender off. Not that big of a deal, but I essentially don't know which one is 1 and 2. So I still think I'm going to pull the fender because, yeah, sure, I have a lot of visibility to it now. But like I said, I just don't want to mess this up. This is not one of these projects that I want the computer to go crazy or something stupid for my impatience on literally one screw that's left on the fender. So
screw it. Let's take that screw off and let's just remove the fender in its entirety. Call it a day. Back to square one, because as I pulled here, I realized that this one right here is J1. So it says pull the red tab back first, then push down, then release. Push down where? I don't know where that push down option is. Let's find out. Typically, I'm a bit more bullish with these things, but the ECU really has me concerned. All right, there we go. And we should be off. And we are out. Okay, fantastic. Now this is where it gets very interesting, and that's figuring out the correct prong. Let's run the wire across the car first, and then we'll come back to which prong it is. So what I'm thinking of doing is similar to what my buddy Craig did to his car, who he just installed flex fuel, is I'm going to run it right through this seam right here. Right, I'm going to pull this off, slide the cable, it's thin enough, slide it through here, drop it in that back corner, and then pray that I put it in the right prong or pin or whatever you want to call it. That's the sketchy part. Now, the fender is completely loose with the exception of that one screw, which is kind of a pain in the rear to get to. But the fact that I can access everything there, I may continue to work. I pretty much have access to the screw now with everything being kind of dismantled. But let's see. Let's start here and then we'll go back to the fender. This wire is extremely small. That's what she said. But so definitely don't want to damage it. Looks like it's a little tangled. Gonna get that out of the way so I'm not tugging at any point. So theoretically, this harness right here that you can see that I'm holding in my hand, see I'm making a mess of this thin wire now that I unclipped it, is going to plug into an ignition coil harness here, and then this will adapt back to the standard ignition coil. So this is going to be further to the back, just like the fuel line is. So let's say theoretically this is kind of sitting in this position back here. All right, we'll put it back here. We are going to climb right around here. And we need to give ourselves some slack for this. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra slack. I can figure out where to tuck it later. And then I'm going to route this little wire, this little feller, through my cowl here. Just like that. And I'll go back to it once the fender's on and I can do it, because I can't lean on the car because I got the fender super loose. So I don't want to cause any harm. But I've got plenty of wire here. The DSX kit is a very nice kit. Honestly, the only reason I might remove those hard lines is because of my pre-AN configuration. And that's probably something I should have done more research on before pulling the trigger. Not something on DSX, but just kind of something that I didn't factor when I made my decision. But it's not that big of a deal. Anyone who's running still standard fuel line there up to the fuel rail, it's a fantastic kit to jump on. Very, very easy. And the fact that, like I said, it's already ready to pin, you just basically got to slide it into the slot, really makes it a dream. With the exception of that, it is a little scary when you're messing with something like your ECM and stuff like that. You don't want to short, you don't want to cause any issues for. So, if it's something that you're a bit more worried about, then definitely consult with a specialist, someone with a little bit more experience. You definitely want to pull it up to the top of the rubber, because as you can see, it's falling out over there, and that's because I just kind of left it right on the very edge, and it doesn't really bite. make sure you push it in there and you don't crimp it against anything when you slide it back into place. But look at that. Look at that. Call me for all your E85 needs. And here we are. I do see the need to remove the fender now because I don't have any more play here. And I technically need to get this black cover off. Let me see if I can figure it out with the fender still on. I need to remove this cover. It looks like it's 2 clips there. So I can properly route it and then secure it within there. So once we've done that, we've routed the wire across. Removed it says unplugged it from the ECM. We did that. Remove the back cover from the connector. And then snip the zip tie if you want to be able to remove the wires. So I'm going to use this same pick here. Really wish my light wasn't blinding me in the face. It's supposed to be helping me and it's making things worse. Alright, let's see if it'll play more this way. Alright, yeah, it will. Alright, back cover's off. So it looks like my boys have played around here a little bit. I already have some wires kind of messed with here, but like, man, there's just so many wires in there. Alright, remove that cover off. With a small screwdriver or flat blade, pry the terminal lock off the connector. With a small screwdriver or flat blade, pry the terminal lock off the connector. All
right, so at this point here, I didn't realize my mic was dead, and I'm basically explaining at the very top corner of this cover, you can see that number 53. So you basically, on the opposite side is number 52. Very weird, no idea why. And then from that 52 on the bottom lower, you're going to count your way back to that number 40 pin. And I basically just counted over and over and over because I was scared to screw it up.
So I don't know from what point I lost audio, I just realized it now, but we tracked down 52, which is this purple wire right here. And then we went up to 40. We pushed out the pin, the plug with kind of a pick, and then slowly slid the cable in, and you will feel and hear an audible click. When it kind of goes into place, it'll kind of let you know that it's all in there. And I'm just going to quickly just zip tie this just to kind of keep it reinforced. This is an overkill zip tie, by the way, but I don't have any smaller ones at the moment. So I'm just going to zip tie this thing kind of tight because there is another wire here that looks like someone's been messing with the ECU, and I don't want it to get harmed in the process. So we're just going to zip tie this nice and snug here. Put these wires back in place. And unfortunately, I won't be able to test this until the motor's back, and then I get it to a tuner, which they will then test to make sure that that flex fuel sensor's reading the output from the fuel and determining my level of E in the car at that point. So for now, this is all we can kind of do, but it's one step closer every day, every time I come out here. Just getting it one step closer to its debut to start hurting some feelings again. That's back in place. And now we just got to put the back cover on and put the car back together. Alright, so there you guys have it, a quick and easy way for one, a little bit more power, but most importantly, a bit more safety. Like I said, well, didn't mention, but that fuel has a higher octane, rated closer to like 105, so it's going to help reduce the chances of knock, detonation, of course, those types of things that can mean really bad news. It's also going to run a bit cooler than your typical fuel, so cooler motor, happier motor. And then obviously you can throw a little bit more timing at it, you could play a little bit with the tune, and you could pull a couple more ponies out of it to get a little more power. My goal is a bit of both. Get that flexibility and that safety net, keeping the car happier. With the higher compression, it increases the chance of knock. So putting this in there kind of offsets that a bit. Plus, who doesn't want a few more bald eagles in their car? Now you'll see in the video, I actually did not put back my fender liner on. My fender is technically still loose. And that's mainly because if you watched my last video, I did a dry sump baffle install. And in that process, someone commented on my video, which I really appreciate, and they mentioned that it seems that I'm missing an O-ring or a gasket in my setup. Now, I've looked all over my car, all around my car, in the sink where I took the tank apart, and I don't seem to find anything. And I can't find anything online about it either. But my goal is to track down what that specific O-ring looks like so I can get one back in place and pull the tank back down. So just for the sake of the ease of taking the tank down, I left that area loose. And obviously I don't have a motor. I don't need to tidy everything up. But believe it or not, it does drive me nuts knowing that that's loose. But I do want to solve that. If anyone on this, of my viewers, know about that O-ring or have taken apart a dry sump before and know what my subscriber was talking about, please DM me, Slow Joe Racing, the same as my YouTube channel. Send me a DM, shoot me an email. I think my email contact information is in my YouTube account. Because I am trying to track that down. I do not want to start the car with that potential missing O-ring. I'm going to continue asking around until I figure out what that is. But if you've made it this far, and like I said, if you know anything about the dry sump thing, drop a comment below, send me a DM. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification because I'll be dropping a few more videos over the course of the next couple of weeks, hopefully to go even more quickly. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.